magicians, how are you? So welcome to episode 46 of the Money Magic podcast. If you've just joined, my name is Vangile Makwakwa. I help women of color heal ancestral money trauma so that they can fall in love with their bank accounts, increase income, and live their best lives. I'm also the author of Heart, Mind, and Money, Using Emotional Intelligence for Financial Success, and the founder of Wealthy Money. So the way that this podcast started was with me interviewing my clients and students about their money journeys and how they've been able to shift their finances and learning from them and their stories, because they are so wide and so varied, and they all come from all walks of life and they do different things for a living. So today is another one of the Money Magic students. So this podcast is called the Money Magic podcast because of that, right? So we talk about money magic, and I've got tons of students. I can probably do this for a while, and I love interviewing them. And so today my guest is Claire. Welcome, Claire. How are you?
Hi, Vangile. Thank you so much for inviting me for the podcast. I'm good. I really can't complain about anything. A bit nervous, but let's just go with the flow and see how this goes.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm all for going with the flow. Claire, can you tell us who you are and what you do? Tell us about your hobbies, how you define yourself, and then what do you do for a living?
So I'm Claire Phutieagae. I have 4 kids. I'm 40, well, going towards 43. I've got 3 boys and 1 girl. I'm married. What I do for life, I do various things, but I guess the ones that stands out, I opened up an inclusive school. So it's for children with and without learning barriers. They learn together. So that's one part of it. And then the other part, I'm a community liaison officer for a solar company. What I do there is community development projects. So I develop projects and then we go into the community and be of assistance. Wow. And I also see myself as a healer, even though I'm not really out there. But I think the best thing of what I do is that sometimes if I do enter a room, I do change the environment of it. I love people. I like to engage with people, and I want people to, reach for their best. I love expansion. I try and expand in every single way myself. So even in my work situations, I always try to give the opportunity for others to expand and, to be the best that they could be. I studied law, but didn't finish my degree. And then I went into education, where I was for 13 years. And that's where the background of the schooling system also came in. So in a nutshell, that's Claire.
Oh, wow. Such a varied and rich background. Like what I'm picking up from this is really about holding space and helping people better their lives through the school. I love that you've got this inclusive school of children with learning and without learning disabilities, because why do we separate the kids at school?
Exactly.
It reinforces this thing in kids with learning disabilities and also without that, like kids with learning disabilities are somehow different, and kids that have learning disabilities then you should only have each other,
Exactly.
What is that about?
Yeah.
As if they're not going to meet people from all walks of life in every single day environments.
Absolutely. And if we are talking about changing the world or making it a better place, separation will not work. And also we refer it as a barrier, not necessarily a disability, because we feel that people, learn in different ways. So for example, I might be more theoretical orientated, but somebody else might be more visual. And that's what we find with kids with learning barriers, that you just need to find a way in which they learn, and then that makes it easier for them. But also they've got beautiful what we call soft skills, more empathy, more kindness. And when you have these two groups together, it comes together so beautifully. The kids without learning barriers, they tend to be more caring and looking out for the ones without learning barriers. So it's a beautiful, working together of two things which are not necessarily so different, actually. It's just that we have made it different because of the educational system.
Yes, because our educational system really doesn't value soft skills. And then we wonder why we have adults who cannot relationships, why we are adults who go to war, countries that go to war at the drop of a hat, all that, because we were taught that like any kind of feeling or emotion is irrelevant.
Absolutely.
So I really, really love what you're saying.
Absolutely. And, we see it every time with the kids. You'll find the kids without barriers, they'll, when they come in at the beginning of the year, they'll be quite aggressive and, not being careful with regard to themselves and the other kids. But once time goes on, that actually just falls down. I mean, I can tell you right now that at the school, we don't really have, very serious disciplinary issues. As time goes on, we don't have to say to the kids, don't do this, don't do that. It comes automatically on how, we treat each other. And not only each other, we have animals also, or we have pets at the schools. We also teach the kids, if, look after the animals. Would you like it if I had to kick you? Would you like it if I had to throw a stone at you? So the same as the animals, we need to learn to take care of them also. So it's a whole, empathetic development, if you want to put it that way, take care of self, take care of others, take care of the environment. It's all one.
How beautiful is that though? Just incredible. I love that you guys have pets. It's like you're softening up these kids in a world that like teaches us to be hard. Everything about our school system teaches us to be hard, to push through. And here it's like, how do you get softer, the strength in being soft? Exactly. I think we don't talk enough about that.
And we need more of that. I mean, as you mentioned, the society that we live in, very aggressive. If we want to create a peaceful future, we need to start with the young ones. Yeah.
And
to teach them that you don't have to.
Sorry, so people keep saying the next generation is better, like the next generation will do better, the next generation will be better. And then like you go on Twitter and you see how clapbacks are celebrated, how like even on social media, how people can say things to someone, body shame someone because there's no connection with the fact that this is another human being that you're talking to. So a lot of that has to do with the fact that our education system valued smartness and how fast you can react to things versus sitting with things, letting things marinate, being soft, feeling, how would another person feel about this? Because that doesn't even form part of the educational curriculum. And I feel like that then carries on into personal relationships, into our romantic relationships, carries on into our relationships with our kids. That's why in romantic relationships, we can just do things to each other and just say random things to each other. I remember that's been one of the things that I talk, the very first time when I started negotiating this was with one of my exes, and we agreed that we would just not swear in the relationship. We wouldn't use the F word or anything when talking to each other. Like obviously you're watching TV or something, you can like do it, say that, but in conversation, we would be careful with our words, and that you could shout, you can have an argument, but we don't attack, so to speak, and you don't use harsh words. And that changed a lot in how I relationshiped. So, Claire, could you tell us, what does money mean to you? How would you describe money to an alien?
Money for me is, I see it as empowering. Mm-hmm. I see it as empowering, and in this empowerment, I'm able to expand and fulfill, the dreams that I have. But I also see money as, it's a relationship. It's not just something that can be looked at as a thing. I don't see it as a thing. It's energy also. I think the way that one treats money is the way that money will also give back. So that's how I will explain to someone that it's an exchange of energy. Just like when you have a friendship or a relationship with someone, that relationship, that's an exchange of energy. And that relationship, depending on how you treat each other, you can expand or you can fall down, so to speak. Yeah. So I see it as quite important.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Money definitely is energy. It's like if you are expanding energy, like giving a service, and you're giving energetically, and then you're not being replenished in any way, you're going to get extremely exhausted and burnt out. And that's why, like, people get so angry and upset when people don't pay and we're underpaid. It's not just that I did work, pay me. It's that, like, I expended my energy and the energy hasn't, it's not being replenished, like you're not giving energy back. So I love that. So when did you start suspecting that your relationship, sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I was saying I totally agree, and I had to learn that lesson, the hard way. And this could go into the question that you are asking. I think, if you can repeat that, Van, again, the question.
Yeah. So when did you start suspecting that your relationship with money was about more than money, right? More than just like budgeting and spending less? Because I think we kind of like to make, especially in South Africa, we kind of like to make our relationship with money about not saving, about overspending.
True. I think it was 2 years ago, if I'm not wrong, that I think I put a post on Facebook and complaining that, running the school, a person should be getting a whole lot of help. And, I get frustrated at the end of every month when we need to pay the rent for the school or we need to pay the teachers. And then a student of mine sent me a message, and she's actually a traditional healer.
Oh, wow.
And she sent me a message, and she was like, there is no reason why you should be struggling like this. There must be a problem somewhere there. So you need to speak to your ancestors, especially on your mother's side.
Wow.
So I was like, interesting at that time, but I didn't take it in. At that time, for me, money was just something that you just spend, and I was not spending it consciously. Yeah. And I also used it as a form of punishment for myself. I only realized that now, for myself and for my husband also. So if we would get into some kind of a disagreement, I would go spend or go open up, go get a loan that I didn't need, or get into this, machonisa thing, and borrow the money. I wouldn't even think, how am I going to repay, the money? Yeah. So I think it came into a bit of a loggerhead in early last year. So I decided, no, man, let me go and see, you know, this ex-student of mine, the traditional healer. So I went to see her, and she threw the bones, and, you know, money was there also. And she was like, there's no reason why you shouldn't be having money. You can see it for yourself. It's there. So you need to start working on finding out what is the issue, what is blocking it, you know, from flowing, because it's there. Your ancestors, they provided, but you are blocking it. So, you know, after that, I was thinking, but how am I blocking money? I love money, you know, but I was not thinking of it at that time as an exchange, as it being a relationship, as, you know, paying people back, as not using it anger, you know, as a vindictive thing, because also it's you creating karma around that, and those were, you know, some. So I think for about a year or two, I was for Matilo. That was the first time that I saw, you know, about wealthy money. And then I kept on reading the stories, and I was like, you know, maybe let me try this out. But I first signed up by following you and, you know, what you had to say. And then towards the end of, I think October, my contract, I was on a part-time contract, it came to an end. So now I had to face my money issues again. Claire, what you going to do now? And it wasn't only on the social or on the school side of things, it was very much obviously on a personal level, because, you know, for the school to be able to have money, it has to start with me. I'm the creator of the school. So that's when I decided, no, I need help. And I signed up for Wealthy Money. Even at that time when I signed up, I didn't really know how am I going to, you know, pay the monthly fees, because I took it on an installment base. And I wasn't sure, how was I going to be able to pay for this? Because as I said, my contract had just, you know, ended, and obviously I was in a panic. What am I going to do? And because the school doesn't pay me, I mean, at the stage where it was, and we're still building up, it was not functioning in a way that it was able to pay me. So that's why I'm always doing work outside. So then I decided, okay, no, Claire, if you want your money situation to change and to understand, you know, why the blockages are there, you just gotta take a leap. So I took a leap. Like I did with the school when I started, I took a leap. So it seems like every time I take a leap, things work, you know, a leap without knowing if I jump what's down there. But it seems like that.
Man. Yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah,
I can imagine. I think a lot of people are there. They're like, do I do this? Do I not? My finances are already like so not where I want them to be. And this is going to eat into my savings. So do you regret taking that leap though? Because I know someone is listening.
Not at all.
Do you regret this leap?
Not at all. Not at all. I have been able to clear most of my debt. I've been able to buy the plot now where the school is. And I've been able to do things that I've always wanted to do, you know, without worrying that much about where's the money coming from. And I've been able to understand myself even better. So not at all. I would do it quicker next time.
Yeah. Wow, you would do it quicker next time. It's so funny how most of the MoneyMagic students say that once they've been in the course. They're like, I wish I had not waited and I hadn't debated with myself for months and months before signing up. But I think I understand, because I always say to people, oh guys, if you're watching on YouTube, I switched off my video for the reason of data, you know how it is. In South Africa, Claire's internet needs a lot more bandwidth. So anyway, so people will be like, yeah, I wish I hadn't waited, but I understand because my work seems so confusing to people. It's like, what the heck is ancestral money trauma, and she's talking about trauma.
Exactly.
What does any of this have to do with money? And these people, like, she never, like, people literally come, like, now I've been doing discovery calls with people, giving them an option to ask me about the MoneyMagic course. They're like, we have no clue what you talk about. Like, we hear about the trauma and I resonate with that, but
yeah,
you're talking about money. Where are the numbers? Where are you going to tell me what to cut out, where to budget? Where are you going to teach me about how to make this money? Are you going to give me a business idea? I'm like, nope, nope. And you will have a shift in your finances. You will, like, we work with the trauma.
Definitely.
So it's just, I
know
no,
definitely, definitely.
Well, I don't know. But
Yeah.
I imagine, like, I'm hearing a lot from people. Like, someone asked me the other day, how do you get to travel so much in a call? I was like, I share this so much. But I think she wanted me to break it down and make it make logical sense through numbers, and maybe share how I'm in a, you know, the travel scheme things that people talk about, timeshares and things like that. I'm like, I don't even know how timeshares work. I don't know how these travel things that people are doing, the travel schemes work. You know? So that was funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's not easy to explain it, you know, because you gotta be able to experience it. And once you have, you know, that bit of an experience, but not on what I've realized is that it was easy for me to understand, you know, issues with trauma and how they could block, you know, because I've been a bit into spirituality, so it was easy for things to click. That that's why, for me, I think that the huge shift that happened internally was when I was doing the lesson on vows, you know, service of poverty, and I mean, that just opened up a whole
what lesson is that one?
Understanding.
Oh, the lesson on vows, the vow of service.
On vows, yeah. I think that one for me was a huge thing. And it, you know, it brought memories back of, you know, as kids, we went to church every Sunday, and you hear about, you know, money is the root of evil, and, you know, rich people are this and rich people are that. And then because you want to impress, you want to be a good child, then you agree, no, I don't want to have money, you know, when I grow up. And you make that, well, you think that it's innocent, but sometimes we do forget that thoughts are very powerful. So we keep on making these vows over and over and over again without realizing that actually we're blocking ourselves. So for me, there was a huge, huge thing. And even now in everything, if you know, there's a roadblock that comes, and not only necessarily with money, but with everything else, then I ask myself, okay, where does this come from? Where did I put this vow that I will never ever do this? And once I ask that question, you know, the clarity comes, and then I'm able to work on that subconsciously through meditation also. So, you know, if there is one lesson that I could recommend, it would definitely be that, because for me, you know, the vows, they just opened up a whole new world to say, okay, now we need to sort these vows out.
Right.
And ensure that we make the vows that empower, you know, that help us expand.
This is the thing. I think that you're not alone, because the vow service comes up a lot in this podcast. We talk a lot about it. I mean, guys, like, literally go listen to most of the podcasts that we've had here. Like, someone will come and talk about this. I think also because vows are so tricky, right? Because, like, you can't, it's what you've just said. It has to be experienced. I cannot intellectually, I can tell someone intellectually, you may have a vow. But for someone, for me to have someone break that vow, I always say to people, breaking a vow and releasing it it's even for me as someone who created this course, I do not look forward to the experience. It's a lot because it's on the spiritual plane that we have to break this, and then maybe our ancestors also carried this vow, so then we have to go into the ancestral plane, then we have to go into then we have to do it also within our bodies and release it in our bodies. So most times when people are doing vows and releasing vows, you'll find that we sleep for days, guys. Afterwards, like after that meditation, we're like, I'm done. Like I'm tapped out, I'm exhausted, I'm crying. And sometimes we have to go into past lives to break the vows. So honestly, vows are critical. And as you can understand, when Claire's talking about this, it's like, if you have to break this thing on so many different planes, why it will keep you stuck so much in this lifetime? It's like, because it's on multiple planes. So we're trying to do affirmations, you're affirming, you're doing all this stuff, and you're like, but why is my friend doing this affirmation and it's working wonders for her? And me, I'm out here doing the affirmations, I'm praying, I'm doing everything, and yet nada movement, no movement. It can be frustrating.
Absolutely. Yeah. And not only that, then, I mean, as you know, once you start working on the vows and, you're peeling stuff, that it is generational, it can feel like the worst time. You will feel like everything is falling apart. And even at that time, it's not even necessarily about money. It's like everything around you is falling apart. Because I think I've had my intense relationship problems when I started doing the vows. It was with my husband, with the kids. I've got two boys. One is 21 and one is 18. And actually, it was like all the men around me, to be honest. It was all the guys around me. The relationship was, with my dad also, it was like things were just falling apart. But fortunately, I knew why it was happening. So I could hang on, I could hang on and say, look,
I think, guys,
it has to happen this way.
People are very scared, Claire, as they listen to this. They're like, dude, everyone that comes here is like changing jobs, they're doing this, like relationships fall apart, like all this stuff. And the truth is that, firstly, these things have to fall apart because they were built on a rocky foundation. So when you start to examine them and you start the healing, it has to be opened all up so that when you rebuild it on a stronger foundation, and when you start rebuilding these relationships, it's just the most incredibly beautiful thing. Like I tell everyone when I started this work, I didn't have a good relationship with my family, right? My mom's family is still not that great, but with my dad's family, I wasn't really talking to these people. They hadn't done anything to me, but like I was really hurt, so I just assumed that, well, in my hurt, everyone has hurt me, And then when I started doing the healing, I was really shocked how everyone that I was like, I really hate you, was just so embracing of me. And I was like, this is all me, But it was really painful even to have that realization and to just see. And guys, this has been 10 years later. People are still the same, they're consistent. I still can't explain why I was so hurt when I was going through this. But I think knowing as I was healing what was going on helped a lot, because I was like, oh, this is my trauma. This has been my trauma response, that everyone in my life, I pushed away to try and protect my heart, because I was so hurt. And so when I started healing, I could start to examine everyone that was coming back into my life and that relationship. And wow, it's been beautiful. So guys, please don't be scared of the healing journey, because part of the hurting process is like trauma isn't lovely. Like the way that I say to people is like, I always say to people, you get to choose. This trauma isn't going away, right? You can walk, you've been walking around with it for maybe like 30, 40 years, some people 50, 60 years, and then you're carrying it around. You're choosing to carry it around for another 6 months or another year because you don't want to examine it, or another 5 years. Or you can go into the thick of the fire for 6 months to a year, really work on offloading that load, that at least by the time another year goes by, instead of adding more of the load, because the more trauma begets trauma, so we carry it and you keep adding more to it. So now you're just literally just putting down the luggage after that you've been carrying, all this baggage that you've been carrying, you slowly start to let it go. So after a year, after 18 months, or even after 2 years, it's half that load, you know? Isn't that just a beautiful thing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think there was the thing for me also, it was like, look, you gotta do it now. If you really want to change things around, you gotta do it now. You can't run away from it. But also what helped is that I didn't rush myself. Even with the lessons, I take my time. Even going through the work, I take my time, because it's not only about being aware of it, but as you know, the body itself has to settle into that, and whatever body pains you feel, one needs to be aware of that and understand why it's there and let it go. So I think there would be the advice that I would give, probably when you start off, you thinking, look, the more lessons I do, the quicker I get there, but it doesn't work that way.
Yes, it really does. I'm so glad that you brought that up, because people do start off like that, right? It's like, the more I do, the faster I'll have a breakthrough. And the truth is that no, actually, most times the slower you go, one lesson, one meditation for even a month, the deeper you'll go, the more you'll release, and the more your body will start to integrate. Because guys, this work is very physical work. It's very experiential work. This is why I say to people, listening to me intellectually, because I know people fall in love with what I say intellectually and it resonates on an intellectual level, but then they'll message me and be like, I hear it, but I'm not able to make the shift. And I'm like, because you need to feel it. You need to go into your body. This is why we have the inner work. We have the meditations, because this is what it is. This is where the shifts are coming from. It's from the experience. And often, the more time we give ourselves to experience and feel and honor the experience, the more we're able to shift and really change things.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, Van, I think what I projected before was that I'm not a person who cries, or, I'm tough, I'm strong, I can handle stuff, but I'm such a crybaby now. Even if I don't do it in front of people, I'll just go to my bedroom or in the bathroom. Everybody will be having whatever fun they're having on the other side. In the bathroom, bawling. I wouldn't know why. But, the body tells you, okay, I need to. Then I just go with the flow, sit in my bedroom or go into the bathroom, no disturbance, or in a bath while having a bath, and then the tears will just come. So for me, I think that's where now I release from the body. So crying has really helped me a lot. And before I wasn't,
How beautiful.
I wasn't.
How absolutely beautiful.
Like that.
As you know, like, I am a fan of crying.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of releasing. It's so funny, one day I should just do an entire podcast, just me talking about how often Black women in South Africa have come to me. Actually, no, I lied. Black women globally, because I'm just thinking, I had a conversation with a woman, with an African-American woman as well. And she was saying, I don't cry. How like most of the students, before they start the course and we have conversations, they'll tell me, I'm not a crier. I don't cry. And like 3 months into the course, they send me messages. What happened to me? I can't stop crying. I'm like, well, think of that as all the pent up and bottled up tears that your body has been holding on to this pain.
Sure.
And now that it's finally doing the work and your body's getting to feel, and you're getting to feel your body's pain and all that your body's carrying, you're crying, because it's almost like a badge of honor. Like I say to people, I have never seen my mother cry. I've seen my dad cry. I never in my life seen my mother cry. And it's a thing that like, I grew up with Black women that talk about how they don't cry. And I've always been this crier.
That's the sad part of it, I think, this Imbokodo thing, 9th of August, I know it's wonderful and all that, but sometimes it brings back memories to me of, no, you gotta be strong, you can't be vulnerable, you gotta show that you are able to do this, and you can handle everything. You can't be like, I can't handle this. And also for me, because I was very much like that, even in my relationship with my husband, I mean, he would say to me, I wish you would be just a bit more vulnerable. And I wouldn't understand what he means by vulnerable.
What is this man trying to do to me?
Exactly. It's like, what, should I be weak? No, I'm not weak. I'm not going to be weak. I was brought up by strong women. I mean, my grandmother was one of those who was running shebeens, and she was a big woman and didn't take nonsense, and she would fight with anyone, My mother also was quite strong. So that vulnerability, wasn't there. But, with doing the course, I understood now. What does that mean? It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be in touch with the feminine side, because you tend to be, that masculine energy tends to be much more stronger. But, those are the things that actually we do need to change, and, tell our boys and our girls that you just be you. You don't have to be strong just because people say you need to be strong. It's okay to cry. It's okay not to feel okay. It's okay not to, if you have your periods, because remember, I was in boarding school. If I had my periods, whether pain or not, I had to go to school.
But this is what happens to culture, and even till this day, right? Period or no period, you go to school. Corporates, they don't allow, there's very few corporates that have period days. By the way, guys, I don't know if I've done this announcement in a while, but I love to do it, even on Facebook. Go to your HR department and ask if they allow for period days, because some corporates do, they just don't tell you. They like to put it out as like, that's what they do. This is how they support women. But if you've got period days, take them. You can take 3 days off in some corporates in South Africa. Trust me, I know. You can take 3 days off for periods, and when you're on your period, the first 3 days, and not have to go to work. And apparently some American companies and some European companies have also now started bringing in this policy. So go find out wherever you are in the world, go to HR, because they don't tell us, because they want us to be productive, but then they put this stuff somewhere when they're talking, when they like make themselves feel good in terms of marketing. This is how we do like corporate wellness, etc. Meanwhile, the employees have never taken period days. So hold them to that, because they use that for marketing purposes. Go find out and take your 3 days. We do not have to be in Bogotas. Our body, like literally, if you are bleeding from your eyes, you are bleeding from your head consistently, nonstop for 3 days, everyone would be freaked out and telling you, oh my gosh, what are you doing at work? Go home and lie down. True. But because we're bleeding and we've done such a good job of holding it, of keeping it secret, nobody even knows that we're going through this. No, it's not fair. It's not fair, because you are literally, your body is losing blood. Some of us have low iron levels. We need more sleep. We're in pain. Just like you would be in pain if your head was bleeding. Take the break. And if you don't have it and you feel like you want to go for gender rights and all sorts of things, go for it. I'll give you argument points and I'll share how I've been able to negotiate this in the past when I was working for a corporate. Hit me up. Ask me how you can go and do the things with HR and go negotiate for other women. I am here for that because I have done it before in corporate. Well, not in corporate, but like, you know, when I was working for an organization, and it helped a lot. So
absolutely, yeah. And look, it's also like another way, you know, that's the thing when we don't listen to nature, because, you know, those 3 to 5 days in a way is a gift from nature, from women to be able to go inside. And to feel, and because for me, for example, if I'm on my periods, that's the time when I'm more critical, and not only on myself, but not critical in a bad way, but to see things for what they are. You know, there's the time when I will know that, okay, no, Claire, this way is not okay, or this shouldn't be like that, and to be able to navigate through it. But I need to go inside to be able to do that. So in a way also, it's nature giving us time. It's just that we haven't maybe been aware of that. But now that we are, I think we need to take that time, because you only come out stronger and better, you know, for yourself, for your family, and, you know, for the world also. And that's why we were given that gift, I think, because we are the bringers of life. We are creators.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is beautiful. I love it. What you've just said, guys, please reflect on what Claire has just said. It's such a critical time for us as women. And yes, it's when we have clarity. And it's also like, there's so much happening. Like I always say to people, like, my periods have themes, you know, like different time, like different months at different points. Like my period this month is completely different to my period last month. Last month, the other things that were coming up were completely different. My emotions were like at a different place. This month, it's like been a lot about resistance and just letting go. And oh my gosh, you know, which was not the case last month. But how has your definition of trauma changed? And how has since the course, I mean, you did a lot of spiritual work before, you had an understanding more than most people of what ancestral stuff entailed. So how has your definition of trauma changed, and how has your definition of ancestral trauma started to change since doing the course?
Maybe I can put it in a way that I understand it. That trauma is things that, you know, one went through as kind of, I might be saying it in a wrong way, so you'll forgive me if it's not, you know, the accepted version of it, but I also think of it as the trauma that one experiences also paves a way for one to expand, you know, as painful as it is. Because sometimes you know, a person asks themselves, why did this happen to me? And why did it have to happen that way? For me, the question is not necessary, but for me, it will be more like, okay, what lessons are there for you to be able to learn from and to be able to, you know, to expand yourself. So that's how I look at trauma. And with regard to the ancestral trauma also, I look at it in that way, but in a sense that, okay, there are things that, you know, happen through the generations where maybe there were no choices, but those things had to happen. And because I'm coming from this lineage, it's up to me now, being aware that I need to break down those traumas, even though I don't understand why they happened and, you know, why should it be me? So I try to look at it in a way as a gift to, okay, this is what has happened. This is why, okay, this is what happened to me, but okay, it happened. I can't change that, but I can look at what I can learn from it. This is not an easy realization to come through, because a traumatic experience is painful. you know,
Yes.
when it happens. And that's why most of the time we block off terrible things that happen to us. And it's only when we get to do the healing that we remember the things that happen. But also trying to understand why. I guess it's part of the, you know, the journey to be able to see the lessons that are there. I did not always think this way, obviously. You know, I was one of the people who was also pointing fingers. Yeah, you did this, and now, you know, this is where I am because of you. But with the healing and the lessons through Wealthy Money also, you know, I got to realize that, okay, yeah, it happened, but let's look at now how we move forward. And sometimes we do get triggered. Yes, we do, because obviously then maybe you did learn some things from the traumatic experience, but not everything, because it's in layers, I get. So yeah, you keep on coming back. They say life is not a straight road, it's a spiral, you know, or it's like an onion. It's always layers and layers. You think you are there, and then it comes up
Exactly.
again.
Like, I think that's the big thing, is that for me, there are certain memories that I'll keep coming back to over and over again. Like so as we're talking about periods, I keep remembering how, you know, like in December 2020, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I had my period 3 times and I was always in the student group. Freaking have this, I'm on my period again, I'm on my period again, I'm on my period again. And this had to do with, guys, it was such a simple memory. Oh, so I was walking, like every time I did the meditation, so I was doing a vow, releasing a vow of loyalty meditation. So vows, like I said, can be like a pain in the butt. And like all I kept seeing was my grandmother sitting by the window. Now understand that I keep coming back to this memory. My grandmother would sit by the window and wait for my uncle to come home and wait for us to come home. And she wouldn't go to bed until like my uncle had come home. She would like just sit and wait for him, you know, wait for all of us to come home. So even if I had gone out somewhere, she wouldn't go to bed until we are all at home, you know. And for some reason that like hurt my teen self so much, because I saw that as like a struggle. So I would keep coming back to this memory. There's nothing gory or hectic going on, right? But the deep vows of loyalty that I made with that, and just to think like that is so layered. It has taken me 10 years up until 2020. I would keep coming back to this memory at least 3 or 4 times a year for 10 years, guys. And I didn't understand until December 2020 how deep this memory went. So I would clear one layer. I'd be like, okay, that's it for this memory, especially because nothing, like I said, it's that simple. There's nothing more going on in that memory, by the way. I'm not being shouted at, I'm not being screamed at, but deeply traumatic because I was feeling my grandmother's fear that something had happened to us. Like, I didn't realize how much of her fear I constantly felt, you know, and she would sit like that. And it was the kitchen window. She wouldn't even want to go to the living room to watch TV. She would sit like that until all of us were home. And there was this just deep fear. And my uncle had been in exile. So she was, out of all her children, this is him that she was most worried about. Like, till the day she passed on, she couldn't believe her son had come back to her whole, you know. So when he would come through the door, she would just be so relieved. So that I was sensing my grandmother's trauma of never having her child since she was 16. And I didn't realize I'd been carrying that ancestrally, that like, I've been sensing that and I've been empathizing, and I also wouldn't go to sleep unless she was gone, she had gone to bed. So it was really, really intense. Such a simple memory, but with so much trauma that it took me 10 years to fully unpack the depth of that and to really understand how this tied into South Africa's history of apartheid.
Yes.
Wow. You know, and when we talk of trauma and we think of it as something massive, you would, like, if I had to talk to you right now and we're in conversation, Claire, and we're talking about trauma and money traumas and things like that, that memory would never have come up for me.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
funny enough, one of the things that was coming up was my inner teen was refusing to expand beyond where she had expanded to, because she wanted to sit with my grandmother at that spot. Like, so as you can imagine, guys, part of me is wanting to move forward and expand and keep growing. And another part of my psyche is like, if I grow, I leave my grandmother at this point. So that part of me was also refusing to accept my grandmother's passing, you know?
Absolutely.
So I literally, in December, I was re-grieving, like I was screaming and crying for the whole month, like just really accepting that my grandmother, after 20 years, had actually passed on. It was that intense for me, because I was like, that part of me was not accepting it, because to accept it would be to abandon my grandmother to her trauma on her own. And I wanted to stay with her.
Sure.
So
absolutely. Yeah.
this is,
I think also,
yeah.
I think also for me, one of the things that this healing journey with Wealthy Money helped was getting in touch with my inner child. Because when you read or you do some other types of healing work and people speak about your inner child, I didn't understand it. Man, I'm in my 40s now, so what happened back then happened back then. But that came face to face with me in December also, actually, that I need to acknowledge that inner child is there, that inner child was hurt and has been disappointed. So it didn't give me a choice. And I think December, January was the, financially worst time for me. And on my birthday, it was the worst time for me also, because we were very broke here at home. And none of the kids wished me a happy birthday. My husband didn't wish me a happy birthday. Everybody just somehow ignored it. And normally it has never happened before. So I then realized that, look, I might think that it's about the family. It could be. I can deal with it later, but there's something also, behind this. So I decided to, I think I read it in your book. I decided to do hey, the English is gone, Van. When you cut out pictures and you make a picture of what you want your life to look like. What do they call it?
Oh, the vision board, yeah.
The vision board. So I decided, okay, let's do something stuff. I haven't looked at magazines for a long time, and I haven't, because that's what we used to do, when we were kids. I remember at school, we look at magazines. Oh, I would love to have this one day. Oh, I would love to drive this car. I would love to live in a house like this. And I realized, Claire, you've taken the fun out of your life somehow. So I sat down and I did the vision board, the type of house I want. And I did the intention that, your book also spoke about, that this is the type of money I want. I think I put 2.440 mil, and that price included buying the plot, by the way.
Oh, we're going to talk about that.
Included buying the plot, and I put it that in whatever way the money comes. That's what I want by November of this year, 2021. So I did this whole vision board. I put it on my wall. I see it every day, traveling, holiday destinations, going for retreat. And then I can tell you that probably about, this was just in January. We're in August now. I think 40% of that has happened.
Oh my gosh, that leads me to my next question. Like, can you share some of the income and savings and other incredible financial breakthroughs that you've been having?
So I think probably, I don't know if you remember this post. This was when we were busy buying the house, the plot. So the plot, the original price was 2 mil. And, I was in a very bad financial state at that time. We tried since 2017 to buy it, but I was blacklisted thanks to my
What?
that way of handling money. And I mean, in my relationship with my husband, I'm the toxic one when it comes to money. He's very, but I'm not. So obviously that also affected the relationship. But anyway, I started working on that once I started with wealthy money, get comfortable with a bank statement. Before I would never look at it.
Trust me, like I feel you. I think that we're all like, whoo, we know that.
Even if
you want to
I would
avoid
just
it by any means necessary. And who can blame you?
Exactly. So I wouldn't look at it, even if I swiped or paid for something, I wouldn't want to know how much is left. So I had to start doing that. It was like, Claire, you want this plot? You want the 2.440? You're gonna have to start working on it. Yes, we're working on healing yourself, but also practically you need to start doing stuff. So I, took out my bank statement. It was also in January. I had a look at it. I had a look at, how I spend the money and where it goes and if it's necessary or not. Very uncomfortable to do, but very necessary. And I started writing letters to money also. So, okay, let's build a relationship now. We need to change the situation. And I'm sorry that I haven't really been paying attention. So I managed to clear, with my husband's help, to clear, most of my debts. Right now, I don't have debts.
Oh, wow.
And as a result of that, we were able to, to buy the house. Obviously, we did it via the bank, but I would have never thought that it will happen in such a short period of time. I thought it will still take me long because I needed to fix my credit record. And once it was fixed, I posted once to ask guys, do you know anyone who can remove my blacklisted name? And I posted it in the group. And I think 2 days after that, it was done. I wasn't anymore. And we were able to, to buy the plot, and the price went down.
People
it
in
was
the
2
group are
million.
so helpful. Like
very
guys, the knowledge there, like I definitely did not answer that because I didn't have the information.
Sure.
But there's always someone that has the answers. And
yes,
this is what I love about it. I don't have most of the answers. Like 80% of the answers that people are, 80% of the questions that are around money, I don't have those answers, you guys, but people find them in the group, and that's the whole point.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, the amount came down to 1.6. I mean, from 2 mil. I mean, that's amazing in itself. So, and, I've started.
Wow.
And I've started
so
saving.
Now you had a clearer credit record. The amount went down. Phew. Okay, now I need to get back to writing letters to money. That's the one thing I will openly admit, guys, that I've been lagging on for the last 2 years, mainly because my life was easy breezy in Sri Lanka. But now that I'm back in South Africa, I'm like, the energy here requires some good old-fashioned writing letters to money and spirit of money meditations for sure.
Absolutely. And saving, I've always thought that it was impossible to save. How do you save when things are so expensive? But and so I went to speak to a financial broker and to say, okay, I need to start saving now. And it took me, I think, 2 months to be able to agree to actually giving my information to them to say, okay, look at this. But I needed to work through that and to be comfortable in it. And I think that's the other thing. You realize that you don't just jump into, into agreements. They gotta feel right. So once it felt right, then I could say, okay, let's do it. So those are for me some of the biggest lessons. That it's not just jumping into things now. You're not only using your brain now, you're using your whole body. It has to agree, or else it will tell you that it doesn't agree.
Claire, what you've just said, guys, it's not even about the writing letters to money. There's a whole So I know that people probably think that we're writing love letters to money. We don't, right? I know Zandile gave you guys that impression, but she's like on another level with money, right? So like she's writing letters to money. So you want to write very honest letters to money. And of course, and then we do a lot of like being in our bodies, like Claire said. So we don't just make financial decisions. It's okay. We sit with the decision, we breathe through it, we think through it, but everything comes down to the body. So if your mind is saying yes, but the body is in a different level, then we work with what's going on in the body, because it's all about what's going on in your nervous system. So most of us make decisions, even when things like, I've gone on in the student group where I've been offered contracts where like the money is massive. And I'm literally like, I'm going to say no to it because my nervous system is at a no, and everything is saying no in my body. And months later, I realized that, oh my God, I made the best decision, because had I said yes to this and ignored my intuition, I would not be doing ABCD right now in my company. And somehow the money is still made in the company, you know? So that for me has
absolutely.
It's so powerful. And I know it's so counterintuitive because again, I'm like, it's not about the money. The money will be made. Money can be made in so many various ways. Like, this is why I'm having this podcast with the students, so that you guys can see that people are making money as artists, voiceover artists. People are making money as doctors, as lawyers, as teachers, as anything. It's not about the profession, because it's not about the money. You can make money and you can create money magic wherever you are in your life.
Absolutely.
You know? So
absolutely,
I love
then.
that.
Yeah.
So,
no, absolutely. And I think once also you felt it in the body, and the body's okay with it, you know for sure, you know what's going to happen. For example, when we applied at the bank, and I remember my husband was not very sure, but I was like, look, I've done the work. I mean, I'm saying this to myself, I've done the work. I know what the issues are, and I felt it in my body that we need to do this. And I said, no, it's ours. And it was ours. And that happens every time. If I'm sure of something, if my body's okay with it, and I will say something that no, for sure this is going to happen. It's like with the work that I'm doing now. When the offer came up, I said to my husband, look, I'm going to give them what I want. And if they want me, they will give me what I want. And then once the interview was done, I said to him, no, that's my job. I told them what I want, and I'm getting it with the amount that I want. And I did, because I had already walked through, through that, and the body was saying, no, it's fine, and it's time.
Yeah. Like we work through the money blocks. And guys, something happens when you work with the body. It's really, really magical. Even me, like I'm in the middle of observing some things that are happening now. I'm like, really? Did I really need to go do the work at that level? Because I didn't want to feel into my body because it was feeling icky, and I didn't want to be with the sensation. So I thought I could intellectualize some things away. And now that like I've been working with my body, I'm like, this is what it took to have the shift. And it didn't even take weeks. It took like a few days for me to start seeing movement. I was like, wow, guys, this is the deal. This is the reality. We cannot work just with the mind. And I know, like, how, guys, as you can hear, I know how uncomfortable it is to feel your feelings, and how, especially when the feelings are not pleasant, and like your body feels icky, it is very uncomfortable, but it's so worth it. I have to remind myself that. So Claire, you've spoken to us quite a bit about your relationships, right? Do you see a shift in how you show up or discuss money in relationships with people you work with? I mean, you've just shared with your employer right now how that has changed radically. You asked for what you wanted, but with friends and family as well. Did you see how when you started doing the work and doing more of the inner child stuff as well, more of the inner child healing and your vows around money, how did that start to shift the way that you discuss money with your husband? I mean, how he helped you get out of debt and get yourself in order. So that must have been amazing to see.
Yes, I mean, I remember when we had seen the real estate agents, and I just came to the realization, and we were driving, and I said to him, you know what I've realized? I've been using money as a fighting stick between you and I. If I was upset with you, I would go out and, spend the money or get a loan. And for me, that was a big thing, because before I would have never admitted that.
Sure.
So there was
vulnerability, right? It would make you a little weaker and
exactly.
easier to manipulate in a relationship. That's how I also used
Exactly.
to.
And the guilt.
I'm saying this.
Yeah, and the shame, and the guilt. But I think once that realization was made, and with the work being done, you realize that yes, there's the shame, there's the guilt, but it's time now to let go of that vow, because I agree vows also come with shame of the things that you have done.
Yes.
So you've done something bad, so you can't say anything about it, you can't be honest about it. So I learned to be honest about my money situation with him. Before, I would never discuss that with him. Even if he was like, okay, let's do a budget, I would say to him, okay, do the budget, knowing that I'm not gonna stick to it.
Talk about being out of integrity. And can you imagine for the other person in the relationship, you're like, let's do the budget, and the other one is like, do the budget, but they know, as you are the one that's doing the budget and talking and doing the financial education, that this one doesn't know me, I'm not going to stick to it.
Yeah. So now we are able to do the budget, and he will keep a copy, and I'll also keep a copy. So we're honest about the conversation. But before I did this work, I didn't see that happening, and it's so much easier now. And to be able to see, okay, what is our financial future also, because that's one thing that we didn't really speak about. And for example, if we want to do something, go somewhere, now we can speak and say, okay, how much can you contribute, how much can I contribute, or those kind of talks. Before, I wouldn't be able to do this. So the change has definitely been in that money conversation with him, because I guess it had to start there, because as I said, I was the toxic one when it came to to money side of things. So I needed to repair that, and really, I think for him also, it was less of a stress, because he knew it's not, I could hide things, but he knows. So you can imagine, being with someone and they're hiding their money situation, and you trying to be honest about it. I don't know how he lasted so long with me, but that's how the situation was. And the patience for me to be able to reach the stage to say, okay, I've messed up when it comes to money and that kind of a thing, but I'm now willing to move forward, and hence me being honest about it.
Yes. Okay. That is, I think this gives a lot of people hope, because like I said, again, people hear that, when I started this work, it was lit, and they hear the breakdown, but hearing that, how there was the breakdown in December, and then you doing the work and staying with it and continuing and looking at yourself, how you then, guys, we're recording this in August, by the way, even though it will probably air in November 2021 or December 2021, I don't know when, but we're recording it in August. So Claire has changed so much in 8 months in her relationship. And this I'm sure if you ask her, it was worth the crying, the no talking, the no birthday wishes in December, because that needed to happen, because it also helped her go within. So I love this. I love this about the work, because often we share the horror stories, but then we're like so happy and excited because the shifts that have come from that, we don't even care about, like the sadness that we had to go through to get there. So Claire, What are the 3 lessons or meditations in the course that you feel have had an impact on your relationship with money? So you've told us about vows. You've told us about writing letters to money. You can give us another 1 or 2 if you want, because I feel like you've already told us quite a few.
Yeah, I think, look, also the God wound and the father and mother wound also.
Ooh,
but the way that it happened for me is not, look, I went through the lesson, but it also intertwined with the, vows, of loyalty, of service. I mean, service was one of the biggest ones for me. So that intertwined also in there. I mean, I got to now understand, I mean, for a long time, I didn't have a good relationship with my dad. And when I was a child, we had a fantastic relationship. I mean, I was his little girl. We would go wherever in the bakkie. But I guess teenagehood happened, and also he was adulting and things happened. So there was a lot of frustration and anger there, because my mom passed away when I was 16 through a suicide. She was an alcoholic, and she became an alcoholic because they had huge marital problems. My dad cheated on her, and there was a child out of wedlock. So there was a lot happening. I was 16 when my mom passed away.
Oh my gosh, Claire, I had no clue. That must be so, that is a big thing for a child. And
Huge.
Did you know about the child out of wedlock, and did you know about the marital problems?
Yes, I knew. I was there when the extramarital relationship started, and I was 16, my brother was 7, and my baby sister was 2.
Oh my goodness.
So, and my baby sis is the same age as, he's my brother now, that child. We have accepted him into the family. So there was a lot of that, that heartache and all of that. And I was angry at my dad for a very long time. But we had I continued allowing him to be my dad, because when I had kids, before I met my husband, I had, 2 kids. They would spend time with him, and he would assist me with looking after them and all of that. But obviously there were, things underneath. And he was not the kind of a person that I would confront about that. I think I only confronted him once via a letter. I wrote him a letter, and I waited until I was out of the house and working. So I think I was only 24, 25 when I wrote that letter to say, this is what you have done. You are the one who caused my mom's death, so all of that anger. So understanding the vows that I made helped me to understand the vows that he might have made, and understanding, maybe why he did the things that he did. Not that I agreed with them, but it is what it is. We can't change it. The child is there. My mom is dead. So how do we, work through all of that? So the father wound helped, and our relationship is much better now. I mean, even money-wise, I think my money issues also came from my relationship with my dad, because he was the breadwinner. We never discussed money. Every time when I had to ask for money, I was always scared. I would rather wear torn underwear than ask him to buy me, underwear. So I guess that's where, that unhealthy relationship came in with money and hiding things. You buy, you hide, or you go out and you buy stuff because you're upset. So working through that assisted. And our relationship is much better now. I don't hold that hate. I can talk to him freely. Before, if we were engaging, I would see myself like this small little girl, and him being this big, father. But now, I wouldn't say it's equal. It's equal in a sense that I'm a woman. I've got my own family. I make my own decisions. He's a man in his own house. He makes his, so we've reached that level of respect. We've reached it to that level that he even now sends me his policies, to safekeep.
Wow.
We would never have done that before.
Wow.
So definitely.
This is beautiful.
And with the mother wound also, I didn't have a good relationship with my mom. I think because I saw her as weak. Yeah, I saw her as the one who caused trouble. And actually, even though my dad did this, I saw it as her being the start of it. I blamed her that, okay, it's because he cheated on you because of 1, 2, 3. But as you grow up, you realize that, if a person wants to cheat, they will, irrespective of what you do. And understanding also, her own background, where she comes from and what she had to, to face. So in understanding all of those and writing the letters to say, I'm sorry that I didn't realize 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But now I realize it, I see it. I'm sorry for the pain that you had to go through. And yeah, just being empathetic and understanding. And with my dad, it's more like going with the flow of the relationship now. And once you go with the flow, there's no blame, there's no, feeling of vengeance or whatever. You accept that, okay, things have happened, but accepting because now you understand and you are able to build that relationship again. So definitely the father wound and the mother wound were also quite huge.
Yes, okay, wow. Claire, I didn't know any of this. I mean, I think you've mentioned the relationship with your dad not being great in the steering group, but I didn't know the root cause of it.
Yeah.
That is so intense. Like, I think we all, as we're listening to this, I know that we're all feeling that this is a lot for a 16-year-old, and it makes sense why the relationship with your dad would break down.
Exactly.
And it's just a lot of healing that has gone on for you to get where you are with your dad. It's so powerful. And I think we are all understanding why December, all the things were happening with all the men in your life, because you had to unpack that.
Absolutely.
You guys, I don't know what happens in December in the student group. I think we go on holiday and then we're like, we're gonna do the most with the healing work. Like, midway through December, we're like dealing because we're doing the most. We feel our strength at the beginning of December. Midway through, we're like, oh no, this is a lot. This is intense. So thank you for being vulnerable with us and for sharing that. Like, you have been so open, Claire, and so vulnerable. I can't imagine that vulnerability wasn't a muscle that you constantly exercised. This is just beautiful. Thank you for being so open and for sharing your healing journey with us. How can people get hold of you? I know there are people who are listening to this podcast and watching on YouTube. They want to know about the school. How can they get their children into the school? Because guys, as you can imagine, if the principal of the school is this emotionally intelligent, what the school is like, right? And how people can, or maybe there are people that also need guidance with their schools, how to make them profitable, how to run those schools. And I know with homeschooling as well, people probably have questions. How do people get hold of you?
Well, before I mentioned that, I was actually say we absolutely need more smaller schools. This thing of having big schools with so many kids in it, it's not working. So if you have had that inkling or feeling that, I can open up a school, please do it. The kids need it. The smaller the schools, the better. Or if you're an educator and you're frustrated with the way the system is, please do it. It's not as difficult as it might be made out to be. So if you'd like some advice from me or, a bit of guidance in doing that, I'm not saying that I'm an expert, but I can, give you tips on what worked for me, what didn't work, and what works now, the challenges. But, when you have a school, it just makes life easier for the kids and contributing to, you know, humanity at large, because big schools, we know that they don't work. So Claire Phutieagae at gmail.com, that's my email address. If you want to see what we do at school, on the school Facebook page is Tshiamelo Place of Goodness, Place of Goodness. So you can step in there and see what we do.
Can you spell it for people?
TSHIAMELO Place of Goodness.
Okay, so Place of Goodness, all one word, .com or .co.za, sorry.
No, that's just on Facebook. So you can just type that into Facebook. Okay. Yeah, we don't have a website yet. We had one. Another story. Yeah, so you can check out what we do there. And then my number is 0662 555 815.
Okay, so guys, if you're not in South Africa, it's +27 662. So, and then the rest of the thing, omit the 0, just put in the country code, which is +27.
Yeah. And then on Facebook, mine is Bamang Phutieagae. Bamang is my Setswana name. It means, who do we turn to? When we have so much issues, when the world is falling apart,
you lived up to your name. You became the answer to the question.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And guys, if you're in the MoneyMagic, we'll have the link. If you're watching this, the link to Claire's Facebook is on there, and to her personal Facebook is at the bottom in the description. We don't put in emails and phone numbers for obvious reasons, so write down the emails, write down the phone numbers, because, you know, spammers and all that, but you can definitely reach her on the Facebook page, and on Facebook, the links are in the description. So thank you so much, Claire, for joining us. This has been amazing.
Thank you, Van. I've enjoyed it a lot. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, this was amazing, guys. We've spoken about all things healing related, like it feels like that, and money related. So thank you for joining us, Money Magicians. If you're enjoying this and you're loving the stories and the shifts that you're hearing from all my clients and students, especially around the MoneyMagic course, you can hear that this course is changing lives, and you're like, I want to be part of this. Like Claire's nodding her head. It's changing lives. There's so much that happens in the student group. As you can hear, we know each other's stories because we are all constantly sharing. It's a very personal space. You want to be part of the course. You want to do the work. You're ready. You're feeling ready to start healing your relationship with money, to start increasing savings, paying off debt, creating a consistent stream of income. Then please go to wealthy-money.com/MoneyMagic. Again, wealthy-money.com/MoneyMagic, and sign up for the MoneyMagic course. Or if we're close for registration, get on the waiting list. Once you're on the waiting list, you'll also be given an opportunity to do my free 7-day tapping into ancestral money wisdom course. So get on the waiting list. That is the only way so far that you can do this course. Yeah, and thank you for joining us. If you love this, if you're loving this podcast, you love what it's about, leave us comments on YouTube, leave us comments on Podbean, share with your family and friends, right? As you can hear, literally family dynamics and relationships do change from our healing and from us healing our family trauma. And leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes and leave us a review. Let us know which podcast you loved. How did it change your life? Let me know what other questions you want asked and answered on this podcast. I'd be very happy to ask any of the guests these questions. So thank you once more. We will see you in next week's episode with more talks around money and trauma. Have a fantastic day further.